Good afternoon, Madison. It's Kaleem Caire. Um, Here to just address something that's been sort of spiraling. I don't know if I'd say spiraling out of control or getting a really good overdue conversation started in Madison. So I made a post on Facebook about a week and a half ago about something that was really concerning me. I was in China the week before that at a conference where I had to speak. We're implementing a model at the school I started, One City Schools, called Anji Play. So I was at their first True Play conference, and it was so powerful. Um, so moving and powerful that night after the opening night, I had called my team together at the school and just talked to them about how serious this opportunity is that we have to bring something revolutionary to children in South Madison, to really ensure our babies are prepared for the next level. Um, but in doing so, I really was reflecting on how lonely, I tell you, sometimes I feel in this working to try to push for change in our community here, and feeling like I'm often pushing up against brick walls. Now, I know I have a lot of support. There's a lot of support for our school. There's a lot of support for the campaign. But the type of support I was thinking about was, man, why aren't there more of us working together to really change the Madison school system so that it is not just closing achievement gaps, which I want to be clear, I'm not interested in closing achievement gaps. What I'm interested in is how do we ensure that our children are prepared to succeed in the future that they're going to have to face. And as adults, I can tell you we are leaving them more than enough problems to solve, but not enough skills, not enough knowledge, not many opportunities to really fine-tune those skills to be in a position to solve them. So that's what I'm committed to, because if we close the gap between black and white kids, last I checked, only 65% of white kids were reading at grade level in the Madison schools, which ironically is one of the best in the state. But I'm not interested in closing the gap. I prefer to see 85 to 90% of all of our kids doing well. But I want to address this issue just very briefly. That I saw another article came out, this opinion piece by John Diamond, Kendra Alexander, Bianca Baldridge, and Erica Bullock. I'm assuming they're all professors, I think from the bottom here at the university. I know Bianca. I don't know the other three, I don't believe. Um, but in their article, it's this continuation of last week where I made a post about going to another school board meeting. It wasn't the first one that I've been to. I've been to many in my life, but a lot since last September. I would either go to them or I'd watch them on the news feed that they have on television. And I was at first intrigued by the young people that I saw go before the school board. And I know they've been going before the school board for a while because I had seen them last year doing this, where they were presenting their arguments before the school board. And what struck me initially was the language that our young people were doing. And my first thought was, you know what? They're expressing their frustration. They're expressing anger, outrage. Let them get it out. But then as I kept going to board meeting after board meeting, it seemed like one and the same thing over and over and over again. And I started to watch the people on the board. I started to watch the people in the audience. I even talked to a couple of school board members who their eyes were glazing over every time these words were used. So just from a standpoint of being effective in your advocacy, I felt like, you know what, our young people aren't understanding that the words that they're using, you can use empowering language or you can use disempowering language. I haven't heard where cursing people or cursing at them can be very empowering to people. It might get their attention, but it doesn't make them feel like they're a part of your cause necessarily. And so I said, you know what, our young people are wasting their energy now with the words that they're using because they'll capture our attention with what they're talking about and then lose a lot of our attention for some of us when they start going there. And it started to be me. At first, you got my attention. And then at the end, I'm like, is this what all we're going to do? And so when I heard it, I was frustrated. But I was also frustrated because I've heard so much of it in the Madison public schools. I'm in the schools a lot. So I've heard people question me, and I'm surprised by that. But I'm not surprised because a lot of these people I don't hang out with every day. But I spend a lot of time in our Madison schools and have, for most of my professional career when I've been in the city. And I was shocked at seeing young people cursing out teachers, cursing out school administrators, cursing out school counselors. I was literally sitting there talking to Justin Creech, who was the school resource officer at West High School. And you can ask him about this experience where I was trying to figure out, what is your job? Because initially, on the face of it, I don't really support police officers in schools. Now, people miss that. I really don't support that. But I want to understand what their job was and what they do before I formalize my opinion. And so, as we were talking, I heard some young girls, turned out to be 4 young girls, cursing, loudly, fuck you, bitch, and other things. And I was like, yo, whoa, wait a minute. Justin said it happens all the time. I said, well, brother, I got to take a second. I can't let that happen without saying something. He motioned, go ahead. I got up. I stepped out. I asked these young ladies, who are you talking to? I said, this is ridiculous. I said, I'm embarrassed being a black father standing here hearing you talk like that. I looked to the right, and it was a white female teacher who looked mortified. And I had them apologize to that teacher. And I was sitting here like, this is insane. And they did. They were like, my bad. I'm sorry, all of that. Because they knew they were wrong. Okay? They knew they were wrong. But I've heard this so many times, and I've heard from so many educators. And I said, you know what? During the school board campaign, I was getting a little frustrated there too, although I don't always show it. Because I kept telling people, and I would even tell moderators at some of these panels, like, please, ask us some serious questions. No softball questions about, what do you think about charter schools? What do you think about vouchers? Charter schools and vouchers aren't going to define Madison public school system. And we got a fundamental problem with the underachievement of black, Latino, even some of our Southeast Asians. They are not achieving. And we are putting them at risk of not being productive or successful in the future. And I am seriously concerned about that, y'all, because I've been working on this for 30 years, since I was a senior in high school, and found out that I was a part of a data set that the Urban League Commission, where they showed that black sophomores, this was actually 87, but I didn't learn about it till senior year, that black sophomores were basically not succeeding. Most of us had below a 2.0 GPA. Most of us were failing. And those of us who were eligible to get into higher level classes, we were often steered away from those classes. So I was like, yo, that's when I started to become a little revolutionary in myself. Fast forward, I'm sitting here listening at these meetings, growing more and more concerned that what I hear in the schools and what I hear in these meetings is one and the same. Now, those who are pointing out Freedom Inc., I had no idea that Freedom Inc. was organizing these kids at this last school board meeting I went to, because I saw my friend Frank Shiro, his son, who I know. I went to school with his father. I saw him, and he told me he had brought a bunch of kids there. I can't remember where from. So I had no idea where these young people came from. However, I do know that I had a problem with what they said. And I will say it again. If I go to another school board meeting, I'm sorry, I'm a black father first. That's who I am first. Before I am Kaleem the educator, Kaleem the community leader, I am a black father first. And when I hear children, black or white or whatever, saying things like that are not only detrimental to others, but detrimental to their pursuit of justice, I'm going to say something to them about it. And if people get upset about that and tell me I'm practicing respectability politics or whatever new language and new social science way we have to define what it was I was really saying, then you guys have the right to do that. But I'm telling you, I'm definitely concerned about how our children are underperforming in our schools. The second thing is, we are caught up in a new agenda every 2 to 3 years that has absolutely nothing to do directly with the academic performance of black children in our school system. Let me explain. We're talking about school resource officers in high schools. But I can tell you that most of our children are underperforming to where they should be when they come in to elementary school. Hence, I started One City Schools, which we started as a preschool. There are other preschools in the city that are doing really well. They do great work, but a lot of our families can't afford them. So I'm trying to create an affordable model of early education that we can figure out how do we make this work so that other children, regardless if they come to my school or they go to somewhere else, they can actually access really high quality early education that prepares them for success in elementary school. But that's not even a big topic of conversation, even though we work hard to make it so. Elementary schools, by 5th grade in Madison, less than 15% of black children read at grade level. By 5th grade, less than 15%. Check the Madison Metropolitan School District statistics. That is a travesty. And when you look at the results, you see that the majority of our kids actually perform well below proficient, which means they actually struggle reading altogether. I even posted that as a comment or on my Facebook page. And you know what people do? They gloss over that stuff as they go to the thing that they feel like is their most important issue, which clearly is cops in schools. So you guys are begging the point, right? I keep saying that we need to focus more of our attention on the fundamental challenges that are producing children who move through our school system that are underprepared for success as they move through school. So by the time they get to high school, more than half of them aren't ready to be there anyway. And we know about our graduation rates, we know about our college going rates, we know about our college completion rates, but we still aren't focused on that as a community. So what my hope is that all of you who are writing in reaction to what I'm saying, we're going to pull this up. I'm hopeful that this article right here, that it stimulates a dialogue that transitions into actually real hands-on work with our kids in schools. So my hope is that as we're working to help lift the youth voice, that we're actually teaching the youth how to read. I'm going to make it that simple. That we're teaching the youth mathematics. That we're teaching our children how to solve problems that they're enduring in our community. One of the capstone projects I'm looking forward to as our school grows through 12th grade is I want our kids to write a new U.S. Constitution. That's going to be one of the challenges that they have to actually work on. And the reason being is because we could have a new U.S. Constitution. What would it be like with today's youth if we had one? I would like them to figure out how to make that happen. How do we solve problems, not just violence in the community, but gentrification? How do we address these issues? And so our kids, if they can't read well, they can't compute well, and they're not prepared to problem solve, they can't do that. So my hope is as you guys are talking about what I'm doing, and what I'm reinforcing, there was a comment here, however, instead of confronting the systemic racism that drives these patterns, that I'm not confronting systemic racism. Anybody who knows me knows that for 30 years I've been confronting systemic racism. Look at the gray in my hair. The other one here, where was it? In embracing this respectability narrative, Caire also invokes cultural racism and controlling images of black women. Wow. So now I'm a sexist and I'm a black racist. At least that's how I read it. That I'm embracing these things. Come on, y'all. You know what? If you take a person's words and you twist them like that, that's not cool. Okay? I said what I said. I explained what I said. I do not and cannot support black children or any other child cursing at adults or cursing at school board meetings. However, I do respect their efforts to advocate for themselves and advocate loudly. Just watch the language. It's that simple. If y'all keep reading what I keep saying, watch the language. Now, I'm respectability police. Okay. Maybe I am in that regard. But just watch the language, because disempowering language does not produce empowerment and doesn't empower your agenda. Second thing is, I hope that all these people that are writing these articles, that they find a way to sign up to tutor. The Urban League is looking for Schools of Hope tutors, that they get involved with tutoring young people in our schools, that they get involved if they're a part of some organization that could provide field trips to their workplace so that our kids can see these individuals in work and in action, that they make available opportunities to do things like that, that they fight for our children to gain access to universal preschool so that no child gets left behind before they even get a chance to get a head start. Okay? So at birth, all the way through 5 years old, what if it was available, really high quality preschool to every child in the state of Wisconsin, regardless of race or income? Okay, so we can move beyond that argument. What if we advocated for that? What if we advocated for new innovative models of education within our public school system so that our children were actually learning at a pace and a level that they're capable of? American education now slows down the learning of our children and keeps them on pace with the same old antiquated model of education that we've been providing to children since the 1930s and 40s. It's time to move beyond that. So why can't we embrace the models that do that? So you guys, I'm on a whole nother agenda than you guys are seeking to define here. If you want to hear about that, please reach out to me, kaleem.caire@gmail.com, kaleem.caire@gmail.com, KALEEM Caire, CAIRE, at gmail.com, or reach me at my school, One City School, 608-268-8004. I would be happy to talk to you, happy to partner with you in this work as we move forward to address the issues of our children. I'm glad I invoked a very difficult conversation, but let's turn the conversation into action, y'all, and action that actually delivers results of great quality schools and educational opportunities for our children. Thank you.